The university chancellor enters the auditorium where a lecture about genetic engineering occurs. A young teacher is drawing graphics and diagrams on the whiteboard, and students are redrawing them in their laptops. The chancellor knows that some of these students are not listening to the teacher. He walks around the audience and stands behind all the people. Who do you think is not focused on studying? All students are typing the formulas on their laptops. That girl over there is solving a crossword puzzle on her computer. Detective Richardson is chasing a robber dressed in a clown's outfit. The thief runs into the territory of a big carnival. There are a lot of clowns here. Help find the suspect among them. Catch that guy! His makeup is leaking since he's sweating after running. Also, he is the only one among all the clowns who took off the red nose, since he needs to take a deep breath. Angelica gets out of the elevator and goes to her room. She puts a magnetic card to the lock to open the door. Then, she turns on a kettle and a TV. At this moment, the phone rings. Angelica picks it up.
Hello, it's your neighbor from the opposite apartment. I'm looking at someone trying to break into your house right now.
A voice on the other end of the line says,
He's trying to pick your lock with a lockpick.
I'm sorry, it seems you've called the wrong number, Angelica tells him and hangs up. Why did she think that? Her door has a magnetic lock. Howard got stuck on a deserted island after an emergency landing on his biplane. He had no fuel and no means of communication. He spent the last few nights building a raft from bamboo. He also sewed sails from the parachute, and now Howard is sailing away from the shore. At this moment, a storm begins. Waves and strong winds carry the small raft further from land, right into the center of the storm. And then Howard notices a ship. He's screaming for help, but a big wave turns the ship over. There's no chance of salvation. The raft sinks next, and Howard loses consciousness. He wakes up on the island again, surrounded by the ship's wreckage. Howard looks around and starts yelling with happiness. It seems he's saved. Why? There are fuel cans among the wreckage. Howard can refuel his biplane and fly away from this place. There's a secret helicopter hangar hidden among trees at the edge of the forest. A squirrel got stuck on the ceiling between the beams. Johnny, the woodcutter, comes inside and notices the poor animal. He's going to rescue it, but he doesn't know how to get there. There are no stairs or anything that can be used to climb so high. Help him save the squirrel. There's an open vent on the ceiling. Johnny can get to the squirrel through the roof, but how? The hangar is located among the trees. Johnny can climb a tree and jump on the roof. The premiere of some fantastic movie about graffiti culture was held at one local cinema. Some of the viewers liked it so much that they painted the wall of the building. The police caught 3 suspects. But who's guilty? Look at this girl with blue hair. She has paint on her fingers. Leo, Brad, and Chris walk in the park and tell each other how they spent the weekend. All the guys look rich and successful, but in fact, only one of them is wealthy. Look at them carefully and try to guess who. It's Brad. See the advertising banner of a new action movie hanging on a skyscraper in the distance? Brad's face is on it. Linda comes out of the library. She doesn't notice the curb ahead, stumbles over it, and breaks the heel of her shoe. She calls a taxi and goes to the city center. There's a street with many fashionable boutiques. Linda doesn't know which store to go to. The best shoes in town, the sign on the first building says. The best shoes in the country is written on the second boutique. The best shoes on the continent, the sign on a fashion house lights up. The best shoes on the planet is written on the next one. Linda moves on. The best shoes in the solar system. The best shoes in the galaxy. The best shoes in the universe. Then she notices a small shop at the end of the street. Linda chooses that one without hesitation. What was written there? The best shoes on this street. Roy is sitting in the classroom listening to two teachers. They're saying essential mathematical formulas to prepare students for upcoming exams. Roy is writing down their words, but he doesn't keep up with the teachers. His hand hurts more and more. The notebook is running out of pages. The teacher's speech is accelerating. They're saying a lot of new information. Ah! How can Roy remember all of this? Help him! He needs to use the voice recorder on his phone. The plane takes off from the airport. A flight attendant walks through the cabin and sees two passengers arguing. The crew member asks what happened. Jay says that Courtney took his place. Courtney claims that this is her seat. They showed their tickets to the flight attendant. She tells them that the program couldn't sell two identical seats. She takes their boarding passes and immediately understands what the mistake is. Look at the tickets and tell who's right here. Seat 14F is written on both documents. Jay's takeoff time is 2:57 a.m. Courtney's is 2:57 p.m. It was sunny when the plane took off. Also, the sun is shining outside the window, so Jay's got on the wrong flight. Alexis runs at the stadium every day, preparing for an athletics championship. And it starts today. Alexis warms up and notices a skinny guy among other runners. His legs look weak and thin. Is he gonna run? Alexis wonders. All participants get up to the starting position. 3, 2, 1, go! Alexis is running as fast as she can. She's in the lead, and that guy runs much faster and doesn't look tired. He wins. But how did he do it? Alexis realizes he's not a real athlete. He's not even a human. But how did she know that? The guy doesn't sweat, he doesn't blink, and he has two left hands. It's raining. Mike tries to walk fast so as not to freeze. His 3 goats are following him. He comes out to the river and notices a raft on the shore, but it can only withstand 1 goat and 1 human at a time. A tiger is sitting on the other side of the river. Mike can't sail with 1 goat and leave it with the tiger. What should he do to cross the river? There's no need to cross the river this way. Look, there's a bridge far ahead. There's a house right in the middle of the hottest desert. There is no water, trees, or villages around. 4 people live inside the building: the owner and his friends, an archaeologist, an oil worker, and a surveyor. The owner comes to the backyard and sees an empty jug. "Who's drunk all the water? We don't have any supplies anymore," he screams loudly. All the friends are in shock too. "Those who did that should go to the desert and get some water," he says.
"I was excavating in front of the house. I didn't touch the jug,"
the archaeologist replies. "I extracted oil under the house. I didn't touch the water," the oil worker says. "I was wandering through the desert in search of an underground river or lake, but I haven't found anything. There's no point in sending us there. You know, I think you've drunk it," the surveyor answers. "What do you think? Who's guilty?" Nobody. The jug was outside. The hot sand and the scorching sun dried it up. Dr. Phil works in a laboratory for the study of microorganisms. He's sitting in his office, reading a new scientific article. At this moment, someone knocks on the door. It's a young laboratory assistant. He looks scared and says he's met a real monster. "It has several mouths, long tentacles, and 1 claw," the guy says. He locked it in the lab. Dr. Phil goes there to see it with his eyes. He turns the key in the lock. The door is opening slowly with a cracking sound. The doctor steps inside and... nothing. There's complete silence here. There's no monster. Or is there? Where do you think it is? The monster is microscopic, sitting in the test tube. This is a laboratory for the study of microorganisms, remember? One old head of a large financial company is going to retire, but who will be his heir? Who will be able to manage such a huge corporation? He's calling an emergency meeting. All employees gather in the conference room. The boss gives $100 to each of them.
That's all I had when I arrived in this city for the first time. But I used this money wisely and became rich,
he says.
Who can use this banknote best of all will get the head position in the company. You have 2 weeks.
At the appointed time, all the employees return to the conference room. Someone invested the money in startups. Someone bought shares from other companies. One guy just spent the $100 in a restaurant. Some smart people earned thousands of dollars. There were many worthy candidates, but none of them became the head of the company. Why? The reason is not related to money. The old boss passed away. Henry and Mia lived together in New York. They wanted to run away from big city life and celebrate their anniversary in the wild. So the guys used a special online service and found 3 available options nearby. Bob offered his cozy treehouse in the woods for a reasonable price. Julia offered this fancy geodesic dome with all conveniences. It's a 2-hour drive away from New York. And Crystal offered an old mansion that she'd inherited from her granny. Can you help the guys make the right choice? Take a closer look at the picture of the dome. It's located near the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which means this property is in Italy, and it can't be 2 hours away from New York. And Crystal's granny's ghost is still in the house, so Mia and Henry should choose the treehouse. The guys contacted Bob, booked the house, and hit the road. Mia is a famous blogger, so she decided to post all milestones of their journey in her stories. Can you spot any differences between these 2 pictures? Here they are. What about these 2 pictures? There are 3 differences. What can you say about these 2? Can you see 3 differences? Here they are. While the guys were driving along a highway, someone threw a can of paint into their car. Mia and Henry stopped at the nearest car wash and interviewed 4 other drivers. Bill said,
My truck has to be perfect. I'm going on a date this evening.
Jack said, I'm going to meet my business partner at the airport. I want to leave a good impression. Lily said, Honestly, I don't need to have my car washed. I just stopped here to visit the restroom. Ryan said, My boss gave me this coupon so that I could wash my car for free. Who stained Henry and Mia's car? Lily. Her right hand is stained with the paint of the same color. And besides, she has a print of Mia's face on her t-shirt. She's definitely obsessed with her. The guys washed their car and continued on their journey. They had to choose one of these 3 roads to reach their destination. The first one went through toxic swamps. People often get lost in that area. The second path went near a river with creepy sirens. Their singing made everyone jump into the water. And a band of angry robbers was waiting on the third road. Which way should the guys opt for? The second one. They can close all the windows. turn some music on, and drive past the sirens very fast. Mia suggested visiting the farmer's market to buy some fresh produce for their romantic weekend. When they entered the marketplace, 3 sellers offered them apples, but only one deal was safe enough. Can you help the guys make the right choice? Seller number 1 offers very old apples. Take a look at the date on the box. They expired 5 years ago. Seller number 3 offers very beautiful apples. But pay attention to his assistant. She's putting shoe polish on the apples to make them look better. So, Mia and Henry should pick the second seller. Henry and Mia left the market and put all their purchases into the car. Suddenly, Henry realized that he'd left a bag with cabbage at the farmer's stall. He returned but couldn't find the bag. Henry questioned 3 people he saw nearby. Vera said, "I only eat fruit, mister. See, I've got bananas and apples." Bella said, "Yes, I saw your bag. The seller put the cabbage back on the shelf." And the seller said, "I don't know what's going on here. I spent the last 10 minutes in the bathroom." Who's lying? Vera. She hid the cabbage under her elegant hat. Finally, the guys reached their destination. The treehouse is even better than in the photo, but can you spot anything weird in this picture? This raccoon is wearing sunglasses. The owner of the treehouse, Bob, lives in another country, and the house is located 15 miles away from the village and other people. That's why Bob installed a special digital clock on the door. When Henry booked the property, Bob gave him a 6-digit password. But unfortunately, Henry had lost it. Here's a hint. M80. Can you help the guy crack the code? These symbols are mirrored digits. Split them apart and you'll get the code 1133CC. The guys unlocked the door. But as soon as Mia entered the living room, she got very scared. She asked Henry to call the police. Why? The treehouse is in the middle of nowhere. Who lit the candles and the fire? The house was locked. Henry checked all the rooms, but found no clues. What about you? Any ideas who that could be? That roof window is open. Someone crawled inside the house before the guy's arrival, and now that someone is hiding under the bed. See? The guys called the police. Officers promised to arrive within an hour. Mia decided to take a shower. When she returned to the living room, she realized that Henry had disappeared. Mia searched the garden, then checked all the rooms in the house, and returned to the garden again. But she failed to find any clues. Can you help her? The hot tub was open when Mia began her search, but now it's closed. Pretty suspicious. Mia was walking through the garden. Suddenly, a man in a mask popped out of nowhere and pushed her. Mia stepped on a trap and fell into a deep well. She yelled, "Please help me out!" No one answered, but Mia's phone pinged. The masked man offered her to play a game. Otherwise, she'd have to stay in the well forever. Here's the first riddle. I come in many different colors, and I get bigger when I'm full. I will float away if you don't tie me down, and I will make a loud sound if I break. What am I? Mia nailed it immediately. What about you? The correct answer is a balloon. Here's the second question. I can jump and I can climb. With many legs, I swing from tree to tree. I can make a house much bigger than me. What am I? Have you guessed? It's a spider. And the final question. I come out at night without being called. I'm lost in the day without being stolen. What am I? Can you help Mia? The correct answer is a star. A hatch opened at the bottom of the well. Mia went through it and got into a creepy basement. There, she found 3 ways to freedom, but every door hid some danger. A fire-breathing dragon was sleeping behind the first door. The corridor behind the second door was filled with high-voltage wires. And a vampire was waiting behind the third door. Suddenly, a message appeared on the screen of the girl's phone. Hurry up! Soon the walls will close in and smash you. Which way should Mia choose? She should wait until the walls are close enough so that she can scare the vampires away with this stake and go through the third door. When the police arrived at the treehouse, they found Mia and Henry at the porch. Henry had just woken up. The robbers had put sleeping pills in his coffee. The officers searched the area and found some clues. They concluded that the criminals were planning to leave the country by train. Unfortunately, no one knew what they looked like or how big the group was, so they stopped 4 suspicious people at the railway station and examined their baggage. Can you figure out who's innocent? Why would a bald man need shampoo? And this supposedly blind person has a flashlight. This guy is carrying 3 tubes of toothpaste, but no single toothbrush. It seems that only the third guy isn't a criminal. 3 friends lived not far from one another and often met to drink some coffee together. Their names were Mr. Blue, Mr. Red, and Mr. White. One day, they noticed that under their coats, they were wearing t-shirts of different colors: red, blue, and white. Mr. Blue said, "Hey, Mr. White, have you noticed that we're all wearing colors that are different from our actual names?" The man wearing the white shirt answered, "Wow, you're right." Can you figure out the shirt of which color each of them was wearing? Mr. Blue can only be wearing white or red, but we've already learned that someone else is wearing the white shirt. That means that Mr. Blue can only be wearing the red shirt, and Mr. White can only be wearing a blue or red shirt. And the red shirt is already taken, so Mr. White is wearing the blue shirt. Then Mr. Red is wearing the white shirt. Mia and Henry decided to spend the night in a hotel nearby. The manager said that they only had 3 free rooms. Can you help the guys choose the best option? This room doesn't have any doors. That's weird. And this room has a cracked mirror on the ceiling. It's too risky. The second option looks pretty safe and nice. The guys checked in, and Henry asked Mia, "Well, where do you want to go now?" She answered with this riddle. "You used to visit me when you needed to know, but I've been lonely since the internet was born. What am I?" Have you guessed? The correct answer is a library. In the library, the guys met these 4 students. One of them is broke. Can you guess who? Student number 3. Her uniform is too large for her body. It must have belonged to her sister.
Mr. Wilson's company was having lots of financial problems. One day, the man called the police. He said someone had broken into his office. "They stole my safe with all the money I had." The police officers who came to investigate asked the man why he was sure it was they. "Well, my safe was too heavy for one person to carry it." The police instantly realized Mr. Wilson was lying. How? If the safe had been indeed so heavy, it would have left dents in the carpet. After the bank had been robbed, the police found the bag with the money in the park. It was lying among cacti. The police officers arrested 3 suspects. It didn't take long to figure out who the bank robber was. Do you know who it is? It's the man on the left. He's the only one with some scratches. They were left by the cacti. The police suspected that Deborah took part in smuggling diamonds out and into the country, but they didn't have any proof. That's why Detective Taylor was following the woman, trying to find some evidence. One day, he noticed that Deborah entered a house, but when she left it, Taylor realized she didn't have any diamonds on her. She must have left them in the house. How did he understand? Deborah was wearing boots with removable heels. The diamonds were hidden there. Look at this picture carefully and try to figure out who the guy's mom is. The woman on the right is definitely human. She can't breathe underwater. But the guy doesn't have any problems with that. He's smiling and looks relaxed. Plus, he has gills. That means the mermaid is his mother. Detective Martin was choosing a diamond ring for his fiancée when a man in a black mask ran into the jewelry store. He made all the visitors lie on the floor and took the most expensive jewelry and money. After that, Detective Martin saw the man get on a red motorbike and speed away. The police officer jumped into his car and set off on a chase. At one point, he came to a crossroads. Where should he go now? Suddenly, Martin saw a car coming from the opposite direction. He asked the driver if he had seen the red bike. "No, I've only seen a silver convertible and nothing else." Then the detective saw a gray car appear from the left. The woman inside said she hadn't seen the red bike, but she'd seen a yellow bike and a group of cyclists. And the man who appeared from the right told Detective Martin he'd only noticed a large blue truck. Where is the robber? The motorbike can only be inside the blue truck. A unique diamond was exhibited in a famous museum. It was guarded at all times, and only small groups of 10 people were allowed to enter the room. After one of such groups had left, an alarm went off. The guards ran into the room and found there a young man. They searched him. There were just several bills, a lighter, a bottle with soda, a camera, and a cell phone in his bag. The guards had to let the man go. But the next morning, it was announced that the diamond had been stolen. How did it happen? The man replaced the real diamond with a fake one and hid the real treasure in his bottle with soda. Mr. Raymond Lopez, a rich businessman, urgently needed his assistant. But the guy was on vacation in the countryside. It was Wednesday when Mr. Lopez sent him a letter asking the man to come to the city as soon as he could. Now it's already Sunday and no assistant in sight. Raymond decided to go and check on the guy. When he arrived, he found out that his assistant was okay and packing his stuff. "Oh, Mr. Lopez, I received your letter just yesterday. I was going to leave in a half an hour," he exclaimed. "You're fired. I don't need people I can't trust. You just wanted to have a longer vacation, that's all." Why did Mr. Lopez think so? The calendar on the assistant's table shows that it's Monday, November 4th. But there's no mail delivery on Sundays. The guy is lying. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect. "I've been feeling unwell all this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. I didn't even need food. My fridge is full. You can make sure yourself," the suspect said, and indeed opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, the bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be that full. An art expert paid big money at an auction for a painting that didn't cost anything. He knew about this fact. He was also an honest man and didn't have any criminal intentions. Why did he buy this picture? Although the painting cost nothing, its frame was a beautiful and expensive piece of art. After several crimes had been committed in the city, the police decided to visit the main suspect. He lived in the countryside. When the officers entered the house, they found no one inside. They searched the entire place, including the attic, which was in a mess. Then they decided to wait for the house owner to come home. One of the police officers went to buy some water. When he came back, he told the rest of his colleagues there was no need to wait anymore. Why? The attic window was closed when the police first arrived, but now it's open. The criminal was hiding in the attic and escaped through the window. Two people are standing near the river. Both of them want to get to the opposite side, but the boat can only hold one of them. And still, they manage to get across the river. How? They were on the opposite banks. Detective Adams came to the park to have lunch outside in the sun, but his attention was drawn by three men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened. Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running the first is the criminal. How can you put a whole apple into a glass bottle without cutting the fruit or breaking the glass? Put the bottle over an apple tree branch in the spring, then wait until an apple grows inside. Scott, an infamous burglar, came home one evening. Just a day before, he had stolen some very expensive paintings from Mr. Smith's house. He was in the living room when he noticed several police officers approaching his home. Scott gave instructions to his wife and slipped out through the back door. When the officer knocked on the door, Scott's wife told them, "My husband has been away for a week already. He's actually supposed to come home today." At this moment, Scott entered the house. He hugged his wife as if they hadn't seen each other for ages. But the police officers didn't believe them. Why? Look at the dog. If its owner had been away for a week, the pooch would be jumping around, happy and excited. But the animal saw Scott just a couple of minutes ago and isn't showing too much enthusiasm. If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? No way! In 72 hours, it's going to be night again. Detective Lee was called to a small family cafe. The owner told him her story. "I went away to the kitchen for a couple of minutes, but when I came back, I saw that all the money from the cash desk had been stolen." At that time, there were only 3 visitors in the cafe. All of them were women. When the detective asked them who had taken the money, each of them exclaimed, "It was her!" The first woman added, "The owner is my friend. How could I do this to her?" The second woman said, "I was looking out of the window, drinking my coffee. I didn't see anything." And the third woman claimed she would never steal anything. Who took the money? Detective Lee quickly figured out that the thief was the second woman. First of all, the 2 others pointed at her. Secondly, she claimed that the first woman had stolen the money. But if she really was looking out of the window, how could she know this? During a fire, a bank was robbed. The security guard told the police that he wanted to save a bag of money, But he had to crouch to lace up his boot just in front of the emergency exit. At that moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came to his senses, the money was missing. Why was the security guard arrested? All emergency doors open outwards. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has 2 times fewer brothers than sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 guys in the family. Now, Mary and John are an ordinary young couple. One day they decided to go out of town and spend some time in nature, so they jumped in the car. While they were driving, they suddenly saw 4 hitchhiking people at a gas station. But most of them looked pretty suspicious. There was a man in tattered clothes, a woman wearing a cape, a man with a sullen face, and a teenage girl. Who should they give the ride to? Look, the woman in a cape doesn't cast a shadow. She must be a vampire. The man with the sullen face has a vampire bite on his neck, so he's now a vampire too. The teenage girl has suspicious claws, so she must be a werewolf. Thus, the man in tattered clothes is the only one who doesn't seem to be dangerous. There's a huge crime spree happening in town. The police are swarmed, and they don't have enough officers to help everyone. The citizens need you. Buckle up and think fast. You have to catch all the criminals right away. Look at the screen and find all the suspicious people in town. There are only 2 of them, actually. First off, look at this lady. Why would she wear 3 wristwatches at the same time? These must be stolen. And since she has no bag or pockets, she had to put them all on her wrist. Next, there's this bearded man. Seems like he's got a lot of jewelry hidden in his beard. Oh, that's a weird construction. Paula and Jeremy have been married for 5 years already. They had a perfect relationship and everything was great. One day, Jeremy had to leave for a business trip for a week. However, he came back home unexpectedly 2 days later. Paula instantly realized that it wasn't Jeremy and called the police. Remember the real Jeremy who took off the wedding ring before he left for a business trip? The man who showed up 2 days later was wearing one. This is what made Paula suspicious. During an Arctic expedition, an explorer found an ice cave. He went in. Suddenly, the entrance got blocked by a small avalanche. Luckily, there were 3 other passages in the cave. But here's the catch. Each passage has a warning sign for the explorers. It says that the first passage leads to a group of Yeti, the second one leads to a huge group of mammoths, and the third one leads to hungry bears. Which passage should our explorer choose? Those warning signs must be a bit outdated. Mammoths went extinct long ago, so passage 2 must be the safest option. A young man woke up in a hospital without remembering anything, including his own name. Beside his bed, there were 3 men, each of them claiming to be this young man's brother. Suddenly, the young man had a couple of flashbacks from his childhood, and he clearly remembered that he only had one brother. Who is his real brother? The man on the right seems to be his brother. He's the only one who looks like the guy in the bed, plus they have matching tattoos on their arms. Martin's an undercover detective. He's on a mission right now, and he's pretending to be one of the staff members at a luxurious resort. His mission is to follow a dangerous criminal who's planning to steal a rare piece of art from a wealthy businessman. Martin has to report the situation to his partner Steve every day. They can't use phones to communicate, so they make codes using deck chairs and umbrellas. If the robbery isn't planned for today, there should be more deck chairs than umbrellas by the pool. If the robbery is planned for today, there should be more umbrellas. Today, Steve's flying in a helicopter over the pool to check the situation. Now, look at what you see and decide whether the robbery is planned for today or not. Yes, the robbery is planned for today. There are 5 umbrellas and only 4 deck chairs. Jessica has a twin sister, Allison. Their relationship is far from perfect, and Allison always plays mean tricks on Jessica. Today is the prom, and Jessica has 3 nice dresses to choose from: a green one, a blue one, and a pink one. But when she opened her wardrobe, she saw it was a terrible mess. That must have been another nasty prank from Allison. So, what dress should Jessica wear? She should wear the pink dress. A button on the blue dress is about to come off. Oops. And the green one was spoiled with paint by Allison. Alright, a couple of short riddles to give you a break. Ready? There's something all the people in this world do simultaneously. Disclaimer, it's not about breathing. So what is it? All the people are getting older simultaneously. Are they getting any wiser? Don't know about that. There's one thing that can fly with no wings and cry even without eyes. What is it? It's a cloud. What can you see with your eyes closed? It's a dream. Okay, enough with the easy short riddles. Let's go back to hardcore mode. Emily and Mary are putting on their makeup, getting ready to go out and have fun. They use pretty much the same things. Phones look similar, the same with lipsticks, clothes, and everything else. So, who's poor? Take a closer look at Emily. Her dress kind of gives her away, since it's an obvious knockoff. A green apple costs $1, a red one costs $2, and a blue one costs $3. What apples and how many of them did Frank buy, if we know he spent $3 and 2 bills only? Frank bought a green one and a red one. He gave a $1 bill for the green one and a $2 bill for the red one. Yeah, he could have grabbed the blue one and given the same 2 bills, but blue apples just don't exist. 3 Fen, also pronounced 3 friends, fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a guy passing by painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh. But then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? Well, at first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant that they had mustaches on their faces as well. Aunt Jean is a huge fan of cats. She lives in a 1-story house. She has cat garden statues, a cat rug, cat wallpapers, cat cushions, and even on the fridge there are cat photos. Not to mention all 30 cats that live in her house. What painting is there upstairs? He lives in a one-story house, so there are no cat paintings upstairs. It's right next to the fridge. Anthony, the financial director of a big company, finally persuaded new partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his office. When he arrived at work the next morning, the folder was gone. John gathered all the employees who were in the office at that time and asked them if they had noticed anything weird. The cleaning lady said that she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained that he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered John's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. So, who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. John never mentioned that the folder was gone. He just asked if they had noticed anything weird. How would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Grounds for dismissal, I'd say.
You're at Aaron and Cleo's wedding. Here's Aaron, standing alone. Which of these ladies is his wife-to-be? It's this one. Look, there's her name, Cleo, on her bracelet. 3 girls are fighting over a doll. It belongs to one of them, but each of the 3 says it's hers. Who do you think the real owner of the doll is? It must be this girl. Look, she and the doll have matching outfits. It's Halloween, and some people got dressed as ghosts, but there's one real ghost among them. Who do you think it is? Look, this person doesn't cast a shadow. 3 friends went camping. 2 of them are real people, and 1 is a robot. Take a closer look at the photo of them and tell me who you think the robot is. It must be this guy. Take a look at the footprints each of them left. This guy's footprints are actually wheel prints, which is not very common for a real human. Amanda and her mom are participating in a game show. It's the final round, and Amanda's task is to figure out which of these 2 women is her mom. Both women are wearing masks, so Amanda cannot see their faces. Can you help her? Pay attention to the woman's hair color. Amanda is redheaded. This woman has red hair too, so I'd bet it's her mom. In any case, Amanda must know what color her mom's hair is, so she's safe here. Local police got information that their little town had been invaded. Officers started walking around asking for people's ID cards. I'll show them to you one by one, and you must decide who looks suspicious. For example, this one. What's your verdict? Look at this guy's birth year. No, it's definitely not a real ID. Here's another one. What can you say about this lady? Look at her place of residence. It's just the name of some place. There's no mention of a state or country. Nope, this person is suspicious too. The next person is this young lady, and here's her ID card. Do you see anything suspicious? She seems fine to me. I'd let her go. Another one. What about this person? This time, pay attention to this photo. All document photos should have a white background. This one isn't an officially issued ID card, so I'd say he's suspicious. I have the last suspect for you. What do you say? Is there anything we should be concerned about? No, he's okay. Let him go. A rich lady, Mrs. Reed, was looking for a person to clean her house every week. She invited 3 candidates and asked them why they wanted the job. Amelia said she wanted to earn some money during the summer to travel to another state with her friends. Colton said his mother forced him to do something in the summer so that he didn't play video games all day long. Danica said she was totally broke and needed money to survive. When they left, Mrs. Reed saw that her diamond necklace was missing. She guessed that one of the candidates had stolen it, so she invited them again. Take a look at them and figure out who the thief is. It's Danica. She said she was broke. The last time she was there, she was wearing old clothes. But look at her now. She has new clothes, gold earrings, and an iPhone. She must have stolen the necklace and sold it. On a snowy winter day, police got a call that one of the houses in the neighborhood had been robbed. A detective visited people living there, but everyone said that they'd been staying at home because of the weather. Still, the detective understood who was lying. This person became the main suspect. Who is it? It must be the person living in this house. He said he'd been staying at home, but he obviously parked his car after the snow had already built up on the driveway. So, the car was away for a while. Why would he lie? Another day, another crime. Mr. Spencer, a businessman, was robbed. He said he'd had a heavy safe full of cash in his bedroom. Now it was gone, and he was worried that he didn't have any proof that he'd ever possessed it. Still, a detective said that he believed the man and asked for details. How did the detective know the businessman wasn't a liar? Look, there's dents on the floor. Something really heavy was indeed standing there for a long time. There was another robbery in a small town, and the main suspect was Damon, the victim's old friend turned enemy and ex-business partner. The next day, on August 7th, the police paid Damon a visit. He wasn't at home. When they reached him by phone, Damon said he was on vacation in Greece and that he left a week before. The police examined his apartment. When the detective looked around, he realized Damon had left recently. How did he understand it? Look at the calendar on the wall. It says August 6th, which is the day of the crime. If Damon had really left the week before, his calendar would date back to the day when he departed instead of yesterday. In a small town, someone had stolen all the chicken nuggets from a local store. The store owner called the police and they started the investigation. There were 3 suspects. Mr. Jones said that he'd already been at work at that time. Mr. Collins said that his family was vegan, so he wouldn't be interested in chicken nuggets. Mr. Martin said the police had just woken him up. Who's a liar? The thief is Mr. Collins. He said his family was vegan, but look, they keep chickens. That's suspicious. Someone stole a bike in a small town, and the police were working hard to find it. There were 3 main suspects, all of them teenagers. Ava said that she'd been out with her friends and had just returned home. Brian said that his mom had made him paint a fence, and that's what he'd been doing. Caleb said he'd been playing with his brother in the garden. Who lied? Brian, look, the fence is red, but the grass next to it doesn't have any stains, so the fence isn't likely to be freshly painted. Aiko and Della were sisters. Aiko was broke. She asked Della to lend her some money, but Della refused. Several minutes later, Della went downstairs and Aiko noticed there was a $20 bill on Della's desk, so she took it, with an intention to return it 1 week later. When Della came back and asked where the bill was, Aiko said that a gust of wind had suddenly blown inside and the bill had flown out the window. Della didn't believe her and asked her to give the money back. How did Della realize it was a lie? If a gust of wind had blown into the room, nothing would have flown out of the window. It would have been swept from the table to the floor, but not the other way around.
Miss Harrelson called the police and reported that someone had broken into her house. When the officers arrived, they found the woman tied up to a chair. She said a man in a black mask had entered her house and tied her up so that she couldn't even move. Then he had stolen all her savings and left. But the officers didn't believe Miss Harrelson and arrested her for misreporting. Why? If the woman couldn't move, how did she manage to call the police? It was Hazley's birthday. Her parents said that they had a present for her, but she had to find it first. To help the girl, they gave her a note that said, "Where should the girl look for her present?" It seems as if the note doesn't make any sense, but that's only because the two halves of each word are switched. If Hazley places them in the correct order, she'll get pretty straightforward instructions. Your present is hidden in the basement. Sydney told her mother that she and her gymnastics team were going to a sports camp for the weekend. Mrs. Stevenson knew her daughter well and suspected it was just an excuse. Sydney was going to spend the weekend with her boyfriend instead. Still, the woman helped Sydney pack and let her go. When the girl returned, she was angry with her mom for forgetting to pack a toothbrush. That was when Mrs. Stevenson realized she had been right and Sydney hadn't been to the sports camp. How did she figure it out? When she packed Sydney's things, she put the toothbrush in the bag with her gymnastics clothing. If her daughter had indeed been to the sports camp, she'd have opened the bag and found the toothbrush. But she didn't, which means she never used that bag. Look at these people who are doing their grocery shopping. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you tell who? It must be this guy on the right. He's holding a soccer ball, but it looks as if it's very heavy. And since soccer balls don't weigh much, it must be a disguised watermelon. Mason went on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss asked him to send pictures as proof that he was actually there. Mason sent pictures every day, but when he returned from the expedition, his boss fired him. Take a closer look at the pictures and try to understand what his boss didn't like. Mason was sent to Antarctica, but in some pictures, you can see palm trees. No wonder the boss realized the photos were photoshopped and Mason hadn't gone there at all. An old man had extremely poor vision. He was living with his son, Mark, because he needed assistance all the time. One day, the man was resting in his armchair while his son was preparing dinner. Suddenly, Mark heard glass shatter. The man ran into the room and saw that the window was broken. He asked what had happened. His father told him that some dark-eyed, dark-haired guy had thrown a stone into the window and shattered it. Then he ran away. But Mark didn't believe his father. Why? The man had extremely poor vision, and he wasn't wearing his glasses at the time of the accident. He couldn't see the guy, let alone the color of his hair and eyes. Savannah went on a business trip with her husband. In the evening, the woman didn't feel well and suddenly blacked out. When Savannah woke up a couple of hours later, she couldn't remember anything. There were two men in front of her and both claimed to be her husband. The woman couldn't remember which of them was her real husband. Can you help her figure it out? They went to a business meeting. That's why they are both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal, so her husband must be the other one, the man who's wearing a suit. Now, this girl, Susanna, can't remember who her husband is too. Can you help her? It must be this guy. Look, he's wearing a ring while the other doesn't seem to be married. Ava's parents, John and Catherine, came to the hospital to pick up the teenager. Can you tell which of these young people is their child? It's this girl. John and Catherine are Ava's parents. Ava is a girl's name, and she's the only girl in the room. Esme was having her usual walk in the forest. By nighttime, she realized she had gotten lost again. She was wandering around until she came across the witch's house. The girl petted the cat, greeted the witch, and asked the woman to send her home. At that time, the witch was participating in a math tournament for witches from all over the world. She really wanted to win and to prove she was the smartest witch out there. There was one last task she couldn't solve. The witch promised that if Esme helped her, she'd let her go home. If not, Esme would have to stay with the witch forever. Here's the task. Make 3 identical squares by moving only 3 matches. You just have to move these 3 matches over there. It works, and Esme can return home. Thor asked his friends to guess what his laptop's 3-digit password was. Each of them made a guess. The numbers they chose were 357, 902, 907, 954. Even though no one's guess was right, every person guessed 1 digit correctly and exactly in its right place. Can you figure out Thor's passcode? Since just one of them guessed 1 digit correctly, the first digit can't be 9. In this case, 3 people would have guessed it right, and there wouldn't be enough people to guess the third digit. The only other option for the first digit is 3, which means the second digit can't be 5 and the third one can't be 7. Since the second one can't be 5, then it's 0. 2 people guessed it correctly. And the third digit is 4. If it was 2, it would mean someone guessed 2 digits correctly, 0 and 2. But that's not true. So, Thor's code is 304. Students were divided into 2 teams to do one task. Storm, Dean, and Brooke were in Team Yellow. Elsie, Emma, and Veda were in Team Purple. Following the same logic, what group does Lexi belong to? In Team Yellow, there are students whose names have just 1 syllable. In Team Purple, there are students with the names that consist of 2 syllables. Lexi's name has 2 syllables, so she belongs to Team Purple. Atlas got trapped in the attic of an old house. There are just 3 ways out, and all of them dangerous. Behind the first door, the roof and the floor are made out of magnifying glass, and the sun will burn anyone who comes in. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas, and the third door is hiding a hungry lion. How can Atlas escape? He should wait until it's night. The sun will set, and the guy will safely walk through the first door. Now, take a look at Iris and her close friends, Max, Ginny, Josh, and Ren. Who's her partner? It must be Josh. Look, they have matching tattoos. On a rainy night, Dylan was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there: an elderly lady who was feeling unwell, a doctor who saved many lives, and Selena, a girl Dylan had been crushing on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for 1 more person in the car. What should Dylan do? should give his car to the doctor, who would take the elderly lady and drive her to the hospital. And Dylan can stay at the bus stop with the girl of his dreams. Charlie, Andy, Taylor, and Alex are all related to each other, but one of them is the opposite gender from the other three. Here's what you know. Alex is either Charlie's brother or Charlie's only daughter. Alex's sister is either Andy or Taylor. Taylor's only son is either Charlie or Andy. Can you tell who's the opposite gender from the other three? If Alex is Charlie's only daughter, then Alex cannot have a sister. It means that Alex is Charlie's brother. If Alex's sister is Andy, then Andy's a girl. And according to fact 3, Charlie is Taylor's only son. But Alex is Charlie's brother. So we have a contradiction here. It means that Alex's sister is Taylor. So Taylor's a girl. Charlie, Alex, and Taylor are siblings. And Andy is Taylor's son. Keenan was watching TV when a detective arrived with a search warrant. The detective said that the city bank had been robbed, and Keenan was the main suspect. The man replied that he hadn't even left the house that day. He couldn't do anything. The police didn't find the money, but still arrested the man. Why? Keenan said he hadn't left the house, but take a look at the calendar and the grocery store receipt. The dates are the same. It means Keenan at least did some grocery shopping and lied about not leaving the house.
Detective Callum has been searching for a missing girl, Riley, for 3 weeks. He was in his office going through the case for the 100th time when he got an anonymous email saying, "Can you guess what's written here?" It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "The girl is in a hidden room beneath the Central Cafe. Bring $500 and I will tell you the passcode." Someone robbed a bank, and Detective Callum was leading the investigation. There were 2 robbers, but the police managed to catch only one of them, Dante. Dante refused to name his accomplice, but the police had 3 suspects, Bree, Ivory, and Ronan. Detective Callum took a brief look at them and knew exactly who the second robber was. Who was it, and how did he know? It's Ivory. Look, she has the exact same tattoo on her wrist as Dante. Holland went to work and asked her boyfriend, Kyler, to walk the dog. Kyler agreed, but then his friend called him and suggested to come over to play a new video game. So, Kyler decided to skip the dog walk and went straight to his friends. Holland and he met right outside the house when they were both going back home. Kyler said that he'd walked the dog and then went to play with his friend. But Holland knew that he was lying. How? It's winter, so just look at the footprints. There are Holland's footprints on the snow going both ways, and Kyler's footprints going both ways too, but there are no footprints of the dog. Someone in a little town was stealing bicycles. Every time someone's bike was stolen, the owner would find a business card with 2 emojis printed on it. The police had 3 main suspects, Ocean Walker, Rebecca Smith, and Damian Jones. Who is the robber? The emojis signify the name. They are a wave and a person walking, so the robber must be Mr. Ocean Walker. On Wednesday, after a break, Nash came to his desk and found a short love note written in red ink. It wasn't signed, but Nash had 3 girls in mind, so he asked each of them if she had written him the note. Layla said that she'd been chatting with her friends and didn't write any notes. Dawn said that she was busy all break finishing her homework. Oakley said that she had been in the bathroom and had just come back. Who do you think wrote the note? Look, Oakley's hands are covered in ink. It's blue ink, but still. If she really was in the bathroom, her hands would be clean. So she must be lying, and she must be the one who wrote that note. Adley was kidnapped and woke up in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but they all looked dangerous. Behind one door, there were many little robots that were ready to attack her. Behind the second door, there were 3 trained tigers. Behind the third door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Which way should Adley choose to get out safely? The best choice must be the first door. Although they're robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause her much harm. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone had stolen all the money from the cashier's desk. A cook said that he was working in the kitchen and didn't have any free time. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't see anything. The waiter said that there was a suspicious visitor peeking around. Who do you think stole the money? The restaurant was still closed and there couldn't be any visitors, so the waiter must have lied and is probably guilty. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not to let suspicious people or folks under 21 in. Take a look at ID cards and help him decide if he can let each visitor in or not. Here's the first one. What do you think? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, here's the next visitor. What do you say? June 31st does not exist. There are just 30 days in June, so nope. What about this guy? Something is wrong once again. Even though February 29th theoretically exists, there was no February 29th in 1977. It's every year that can be divided by 4. Okay, what do you think about this girl? I don't see anything suspicious about her. Here's another candidate for the club. What do you think? Well, he is 22, and he seems fine to me. Let him in. A student was having an oral chemistry exam and was struggling with his last task. His professor decided to help him and have some fun, so he said that instead of the task, the student could guess his daughter's name. He only had one guess, but there was a hint. He wrote down several numbers: 32, 10, 14, 16. What's the professor's daughter's name? It's a chemistry class and chemistry professor, so there must be something related to chemistry. Look, there's even a periodic table in the background to help you. The 32nd element is germanium, or Ge, and the 10th one is neon, or Ne, and the 14th one is silicon, or Si, and finally, the 16th element is sulfur, or S. Together, they form the name Genesis. A bank was robbed, but they couldn't find the robber. A week later, at night, Detective Callum woke up from a call from a local shop's owner. He said that he found the money under his terrace. Detective Callum arrived, but there was only half of the money stolen. The man said that he had seen a man by his shop a week ago. It was a full moon, so he could see that the man had red hair and was wearing a dark hoodie. Still, the shop owner was arrested. Why? The shop owner said it was a full moon a week ago, but look, it's a full moon right now, so the man must be lying about something. In history class, students were asked to prepare a presentation about their ancestors. Edwin told about his great-great-grandpa who moved to New York and started as a salesman and then built a huge business. He even showed a photograph of his young grandpa in New York, but no one believed Edwin's story. Why? Even though the picture is black and white and looks old New York looks very much like modern New York, with dozens of skyscrapers. The class noticed and figured out that it definitely wasn't a real photo. Royce called the police and reported that someone had robbed his house. Detective Callum arrived and asked Royce to tell exactly what happened. Royce said that he had walked into his room and saw someone getting out of the window. It was still open because Royce didn't care to close it or touch anything before the police arrived. He checked his wardrobe and found that his savings had been stolen. Detective Callum closed the case. Why? The robber couldn't go out the window without stepping on the bed, but the bed is perfectly made, so it looks like no one was leaving through the window. Kaya was studying in the library. She went to the bathroom and left her things on the desk. When she returned, she found that her wallet had been stolen. She called the police and they interrogated the 3 students who were also in the library. Andre said that he had left the library right after Kaya to get a drink from the vending machine and hadn't touched any of her things. Poppy said that she was studying the whole time and not paying attention to anything. Rhea said that she was in the other part of the library looking for a book she needed and hadn't seen anything suspicious either. Who stole the wallet? It was Andre. He said that he had left to get a drink in a vending machine, but look, there's no drinks in the vending machine, only snacks. A young man named Colton was living with his best friend Cassidy. One morning, he called the police because Cassidy wasn't breathing. He said that he'd been working all day and had returned home late, so he hadn't seen her or talked to her for over a day. In the morning, he found her in bed like that. Last night, Cassidy had a headache and had to take many pills, so maybe that was the reason. Colton was immediately arrested. Why? Colton obviously didn't communicate with Cassidy, but he still somehow knew what she was doing in the evening. He must have come up with all of it, as he is probably guilty. One famous magician is performing on the stage. He's going to show his most spectacular trick, but unfortunately, only one viewer has come to the show. The magician puts 8 different cards on the table and covers them with a black cloth. He asks the viewer to come closer. Now you'll see 2 rows of 4 cards. I want you to select only one of them, but very quickly. Ready? The magician says. He lifts the cloth for 1 second, then covers the cards again. The viewer has chosen one card. The magician looks at him and whispers, "Now close your eyes. Think about the card. Think of nothing else. I'm going to read your mind now." The spectator closes his eyes. After a few seconds, the magician tells him, "Look at the table. I've removed your card and replaced it with a new one." The guy opens his eyes and it's magic. The magician has indeed removed the card he thought about. But how did he do it? There's no magic here. The magician replaced all the cards on the table with new ones. But the viewer didn't notice this since he was only focused on one card. Johnny is on a deserted island. He walks through the jungle and finds an old treasure chest, but as soon as he touches it, 3 zombie pirates come out from behind the trees.
"We've been protecting this gold for 500 years. You won't take it,"
one of them says. Johnny notices that something is wrong with these guys. They seem fake, but why? This pirate is wearing sneakers, see? The second one has a phone in his pocket, and the third pirate has a price tag attached to his saber. A famous courier service hires new staff. To get the job, candidates need to take a package and run a marathon in 3 hours. They easily cope with this task. Then, the boss asks them to swim the distance of the Olympic pool. One of the candidates stops halfway through the distance to take a breath. He drops out of the race. It leaves us with 3 participants. Now they have to pass a test in nuclear physics. Only 2 candidates make no mistakes. The third guy fails. And the last task is to conquer Everest. And here they are, climbing to the top. "Remind me, what salary do they offer?" one of them asks. $20 per hour, the second candidate answers. Finally, they get to the peak and meet the boss there. He looks at them and says, "You both have made it so far, but I'll hire only one of you. Who will get this job?" The first candidate. He's still carrying the package he got before the marathon. 2 powerful film producers are having a breakfast in an expensive restaurant. They discuss the budget for a sequel to a very successful movie that got $500 million at the box office. They speak very quietly since they mention important details of the script. They suspect that someone might overhear them. The producers are right. Some curious people are indeed eavesdropping on their conversation. Find them. There's a guy at the table holding a magazine upside down. Obviously, he isn't reading it. He must be listening to the producers. That girl over there is a journalist. There's a camera lens sticking out of her backpack. See? She will post a video, and fans will be able to read the producer's lips. That man is eating a salad, but you can notice a microphone hidden in his long hair. 3 people are standing in front of an ice cream cart. The first guy is taking a cone from the seller. The guy behind him is nervous. His hands are in his pockets. The third guy is looking at something through binoculars. Which of them is a police officer? Look at the first guy. He's got a police radio in his pocket. "Where's my money?" the owner of a diner screams. It's 30 minutes till the end of the working day, but there's no money in the cash register. 3 employees have been working today, but they swear they haven't touched the money. They say there have been no clients in the diner. The boss doesn't believe them. He studies the employees, trying to figure out who's the thief. Linda is wearing a pair of sunglasses, jeans, and a stylish t-shirt. She also has an expensive phone. Michael is dressed in costly designer clothes. Sarah is wearing a regular jacket and a long skirt. Who do you think has stolen the money? They're all telling the truth. Look at the sign on the door. Open, it says. This means people passing by the diner see the closed sign. The employees forget to turn it over, and that's why there have been no clients. Michael is walking down a long road. He's sweaty, hungry, and thirsty. There are no cars around, and his phone isn't working. Michael takes a few more steps and sits down on the road. He can't walk anymore. At this moment, he hears a vehicle approaching. A big bus appears on the road. It stops by Michael. Its doors open, but Michael doesn't get inside. He notices a car and a motorbike approaching. They stop by him too. All the drivers offer to give Michael a ride. What should he choose? The bus seems normal, but one of its tires is flat. The trip won't last long. Look at the biker. His face is hidden by a helmet, but he has hooves instead of feet. Mike chooses the car. One video blogger has been walking across a desert for several hours. The guy has no water left, and he's losing strength, but his camera battery is fully charged. He climbs a small hill and sees 3 lakes, but not all of them are real. Help the blogger to identify illusions. He has a video camera. He should film the lakes. Mirages can't be recorded. A biker is traveling along a country road when he hears a scream. A woman is calling for help. She seems to be in the forest. The biker drives in her direction and sees 3 girls among trees. They're all begging to save them from a vampire. "But which of you is the vampire?" the man asks. "It's her," the girl screams and points at one another. How can the biker find out who is human? There are 2 side mirrors on the motorcycle. The biker needs to turn the handlebars to check which girl has a reflection. Martin likes visiting abandoned factories and other buildings. Today he's going to check a huge deserted shopping mall located on a remote island. According to some legends, the Minotaur lives inside the building. The creature looks like a human with a bull's head. Of course, Martin doesn't believe that. He takes a flashlight, a warm blanket, and a night vision camera. It's dark and cold inside. Martin hears a strange noise coming from the corridor. He shines a flashlight and sees the Minotaur. The monster looks angry. It aims its horns at Martin. What should the guy do? Faster! The bull is about to attack! Remember that blanket that Martin took with him? The guy should throw it at the monster's muzzle to confuse the creature and escape. Michelle is in front of a locked door. An axe, a hammer, and a drill, and several other tools lie nearby. The girl tries to break down the door with the axe, but the door is metallic. Then, she tries to knock the door out with the hammer, and again, no result.
Don't try to force it open. There's an easier way,
a creepy voice says. Michelle tries to open the door by turning the handle, but it doesn't work either. What else can she do? Michelle should knock on the door. Starry sky, fresh cool air, endless dunes, a small campfire, and a tent. This place is a fairy tale. Sarah has always wanted to spend a night in a desert. She takes pictures of the stars, drinks hot tea from a thermos, and enjoys life. It's a perfect night. Too perfect. A smile disappears from Sarah's face. Everything is not real. 2 signs indicate that Sarah is sleeping right now. What are these signs? Two moons are shining in the sky. A sea crab is looking at Sarah from the sand. But it's scorpions that usually live in deserts, not sea crabs. Mary opens her eyes and realizes that she's in an unknown place. The last thing she remembers is walking in the park, and then darkness. There's a lot of trash in the room. A red lamp is flashing from the ceiling. Something must have happened here. Mary can leave through the door. It's open. But wait, she needs to take some useful stuff from the room. But what? She can only choose 2 items. Which ones? Mary needs to get scuba gear and a mask. Look at that small window. Fish are swimming by. Mary is underwater. Alex returns to his top-floor apartment after a workout at the gym. He turns on his stove to cook some soup. When he's having lunch, someone knocks on the door. These are water utility workers. They say that the ceiling in Alex's apartment is about to collapse because his neighbors forgot to turn off a faucet. And now they're flooding the building. They ask the guy to evacuate immediately. Alex closes the door and calls the police. He's sure those 2 are thieves. How has Alex figured that out? He lives on the top floor. No one can flood him.
Mark was walking along the river when he heard someone screaming. It was a young woman who was drowning. The guy immediately left his jacket and backpack on the ground and jumped into the water. Luckily, he was on time. When Mark pulled the woman out of the river, he saw a passerby standing next to his stuff.
Unfortunately, I can't swim, but I looked after your things,
The man said. Then why did you rummage in my backpack? Mark asked. How did he understand someone had opened his backpack? When he dropped the bag on the ground, the zipper was on the left side, but now it's on the right side. It was a scorching hot day when Thomas made a bet with his friends. At that time, they were chilling in the garden, drinking water and lemonade. Thomas told his friends that water produced by different companies tasted different too. "You can blindfold me. I'll take a sip from 2 bottles of water, the one we have on the table and the one from a different producer. I saw it in the kitchen. I bet I'll be able to tell the difference." Then he did exactly that. His friends were ready to give Thomas the money he had won. But one of them cut in.
You were cheating,
he said. Why did he think so? It was an extremely hot day. No wonder the water had been outside for several hours, which was much warmer than the water brought from the kitchen. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect, who had been detained several times before.
"I've been feeling unwell this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. Luckily, I didn't need food. My fridge is full. You can make sure of it yourself,"
the man said and opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, that loaf of bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be so full. Mr. Black sold beautiful, rare vases. There were dozens of them on the shelves of his store. One day, the man called the police. When they arrived, the owner had his head bandaged and his store was a mess. "Some guys in masks ran into my store and grabbed the money and the most expensive vases. Then they hit me on the head and I blacked out." Police officers immediately understood that Mr. Black was lying to get the insurance money. How did they figure it out? Even though most of the vases are on the floor, they aren't even cracked. But if the vases had fallen down from the shelves during the robbery, they would have been shattered. Look at these 2 bloggers. As you see, they both seem to be very popular. They also have the same amount of likes, but there's something wrong with one of them. She must be hiding something. What is it? The girl on the right has a fake bag. The logo on it looks like that of Chanel, but it's written Gucci underneath. Marcel was driving along a dangerous mountain road. Suddenly, he saw a man sitting on the side of the road and stopped. It turned out the man hadn't managed to control his car. It fell off the road and the man got thrown out of the window. And now, his very expensive car was beyond repair.
Could you be my witness when I prepare the documents for my insurance company?
The man asked Marcel. The guy agreed, but asked the man to show him what was inside the car. The man took the key out of his pocket and unlocked the damaged vehicle. "I won't take part in this fraud," Marcel said. Why did he think the man was lying? If the man had been thrown out of the car, the key would still be in the ignition. Dylan and Susan had been happily married for 10 years. One day, Dylan went on a business trip. When he returned, Susan immediately understood that the man wasn't her husband. How did she figure it out? Dylan always wore his wedding ring. If you were attentive, you must have noticed it on his finger. But the man who returned to Susan didn't have the wedding ring. The police found out that a smuggler was going to leave the country through the largest airport in the city. A detective arrived there and detained 3 people who looked suspicious. Look at them and try to figure out who the smuggler is. It's the third passenger. His suitcase is full of totally random stuff. Women's shoes, some random socks, a pair of old dirty jeans, and even a wig. Plus, when closed, the suitcase looks much larger than when it's open. Sarah's husband, Michel, was a professional cyclist. He was about to have a challenging cycling tournament. "I promise I'll bring you the bouquet they give to the winner," Michel told Sarah. 4 hours later, he came back with beautiful flowers. But Sarah realized right away that Michel hadn't won the tournament. How did she figure it out? Those flowers are actually from Sarah's garden. The same flowers are growing next to their house. Look at these people. The man is in the hospital. He's lost his memory. And these two women both claim to be his partner. One of them is obviously lying, but which one? The woman on the left is lying. If they were married, they would have wedding rings on their fingers. Now, there are these three people. One of them is lying. Who is it? Look at this woman claiming that she's pregnant. See that Adam's apple? It's a man. He can't be pregnant. Look at these people. Can you figure out who's a vampire? It's this man. See those fangs? Creepy. Which of these girls is the man's wife? It's the girl on the right. She's wearing a necklace saying Kate, and the man has a tattoo with the same name on his arm. A store security guard stopped a man who was leaving a clothing store. "The sales assistant claims you've stolen a pair of expensive gloves."
These are my gloves. I've had them for ages.
But the security guard immediately understood the man was lying. How? The man wouldn't be able to use these gloves. They're both for the same hand. Rachel reached the final of a game show. In the last round, she could win a gold bar, but only if she managed to get it. One of the bars was in a container with boiling hot water. The jar containing the second bar was filled with strong acid. And in the third jar, there were venomous scorpions. Which container should Rachel choose? The woman just needs to wait until the water in the first jar cools down and take the gold bar. Detective Adams came to a park to have lunch in the sun, but his attention was drawn by three men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened. Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running the first is the criminal. If it rains at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it will be sunny? No way! In 72 hours, it's gonna be night again. Can you crack this rebus puzzle? That's right, it means accelerate.
Jenny and Ben were about to get married. They wanted to book a hotel for their wedding ceremony in the party. So they went to a wedding planner to look at some options. She told them only 3 hotels were available for the day they wanted and showed them the pictures. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the 3rd floor windows of the first hotel. In the last window on the right, there's a creepy shadow of a monster that appears and disappears. 5 stars or not, no one would like to get married in a haunted place unless they're an Addams Family member. In the 3rd hotel, only has 2 stars. It probably doesn't have the facilities to host a wedding, so the best choice is the 2nd hotel. Great choice, the wedding planner said, and you're in luck because they actually have a great discount offer. If you can answer this riddle correctly, you won't have to pay for the ballroom rental. Here it is. Those who have it, do not say it. Those who take it, do not know it. Those who know it, do not want it. What is it? Do you know the answer? It's fake money. The next day, Ben and Jenny went to the hotel to pick the best ballroom for their party. The hotel manager took them to 3 different rooms where they could host everything, from the ceremony itself to the dinner and after party. Which one should they pick? Do you see a little mouse hole in the corner of the first ballroom? The couple wouldn't want such uninvited guests at their party. As for the 2nd ballroom, the chandelier looks like it might fall down any minute. Not the safest option, so they should pick the 3rd ballroom. It was time for Ben and Jenny to pick the wedding menu. Since they were not paying for the venue, they wanted to spare no expense in serving food that the guests would never forget. That's why they called 3 different Michelin star chefs. Each of them prepared a different dish and presented them for a tasting. Which chef, and therefore which dish, should they go for? Even though the dish the 2nd chef made looks perfectly fine, do you see a rat's tail hanging from his chef's hat? There must be some ratatouille situation going on there. So that's a pass. The 3rd dish looks like spaghetti, right? Well, look again. Those are actually very thin snakes. Exotic flavors might not be the best option, so they better go with the classical burger that the first chef made. Before they made their wedding vows, Jenny had to say yes to a dress. So, she went to a couture store to check their wedding gown collection. She explained to the designer the style of the dress she wanted for her ceremony. The designer said he had just the perfect gown for her and would bring it to her if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked, if a gown takes an hour to dry, how many hours will it take 6 dresses to dry? It'll still take 1 hour because they'll all dry at the same time. Ben had one last item to buy on his wedding shopping list, and it was what fastens 2 people yet touches only 1. Can you figure out what it is? It's a wedding ring, of course. Ben headed to a jewelry store to get something blue for his bride. The store owner showed him 3 different wedding rings with blue gemstones. Which one should he buy? The 2nd ring has an engraving inside, so it must have belonged to someone else before. The gemstone on the 3rd ring has a tiny crack in it. That can only mean it's made of glass or even plastic. So, Ben should buy the 1st ring with a sapphire. Next, Ben and Jenny were going to send out invitations. One print shop offered them 3 different versions of invitations. Which one should they choose? Do you remember the name of the hotel they booked? It was Sunrise Lodge, but the first invitation says Sunset Lodge. So this one won't do. And on the third invitation, their names are printed as Benny and Jen. That's not our couple, so they should choose the second invitation. Before the wedding, 3 of their friends paid them a visit. One of them brought a painting as a wedding gift, but all 3 claimed that they were the artist who had created it. 2 of them must be lying. Can you figure out who the actual artist is? Take a look at the signature on the painting. It says Denise. Now look at the third friend's necklace. It has the letter D, so she must be Denise, the artist who painted the painting. It was finally the day of the wedding, and Ben and Jenny's guests started to arrive. However, the hotel security spotted 3 suspicious-looking people who could be uninvited. Take a look at these 3 guys. Can you tell which one is not supposed to be at the wedding? Do you see the hotel wristbands that say Ben and Jenny, that the second and the third guys are wearing? That can only mean they are actually invited. So it's the first guy who's crushing the wedding. Sorry, dude, no free drinks for you. After the vows were exchanged, it was time to party. As Ben and Jenny were dancing, someone spilled their drink on Jenny's dress, but no one saw who it was. Jenny spotted 3 people who could have done it. Take a look at them. Can you tell who ruined her dress? The first guy has spots on his shirt that resemble stains from the spilled drink, but they are actually part of the pattern, so it can't be him. The third lady looks clean, but the hem of the second lady's skirt looks dirty, so it must be her who did it. After the ceremony ended, Ben and Jenny wanted to take a photo to capture the moment forever. But take a look at it. There's something strange about it. Can you spot what it is? Can you see a woman hiding behind the trees watching them? She is wearing a witch hat, but it's a wedding ceremony and not a costume party. Creepy. Right before leaving, Jenny suddenly vanished. Then the witch suddenly appeared in front of Ben and said, "You may only kiss the bride if you figure out with whom you really tied the knot. Ha ha!" Then 2 Jennys appeared in front of Ben. Can you tell which one is his real wife? Remember the wedding photo? The Jenny on the left is the real one because her tattoo is on the same side as in the photo. Now that Ben and Jenny's wedding was over, phew, it was time for them to pick a honeymoon destination. They went to a travel agency to book a tour. The travel agent offered them 3 different holiday destinations: Ibiza, Cannes, and the Caribbeans. Which one should they go to? Have you noticed the weather forecast on TV in the office? It states that the weather in Ibiza is going to be windy in the upcoming days, and in Cannes, it's going to be rainy. So they should pick the Caribbeans and enjoy the sun. The travel agent said she could upgrade their plane tickets to business class for free. It would be her wedding gift to them. But they had to crack this riddle. What can travel around the world while staying in a corner? It's a stamp.
These 3 handsome young men are brothers, identical triplets. Sam, he's very honest, and he always tells the truth. Bob always lies, and Alex is unpredictable. Sometimes he lies, but sometimes he tells the truth. Amy is the brother's old friend. She visited them after many years, and she could barely recognize who was who. Amy asked the guy who was sitting on the left, "Which brother is sitting in the middle?" The answer was, "Oh, that's Sam." Amy then asked the brother in the middle, "What's your name?" And the reply was, "I'm Alex." Then Amy turned to the brother on the right and asked, "Who's that guy in the middle?" The brother replied, "It's Bob." Those answers confused Amy because she had asked the same question 3 times and received 3 different answers. Can you help her figure out who is who? Sam always tells the truth, so the brother on the left cannot be Sam because, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to call someone else by his name. The brother in the middle cannot be Sam for the same reason, so the brother on the right must be Sam. And since we know he always tells the truth, the guy in the middle is Bob, and the brother on the left is Alex. Both Bob and Alex lied to Amy. No wonder she hasn't seen them in years. Daniel lent $100 to Alex, one of the 3 triplets. Sometime later, Daniel wanted to get his money back. One morning, he meets one of the triplets not far from his house. Daniel can ask him a 3-word question. Sam always tells the truth, while Bob and Alex always lie. What question should Daniel ask? The right question would be, "Are you Bob?" Here's the list of possible replies the guy can give. If it's Sam, he'll say no. If it's Bob, he'll also say no. And if it's Alex, his reply will be yes. That's why, if Daniel hears yes, he can ask for his money. Sam, Bob, and Alex bought some chocolate candies. Sam gave Bob and Alex as many candies as they already had. Then Bob gave Sam and Alex as many candies as they already had. And finally, Alex gave Bob and Sam as many chocolates as they already had. Now, each of the brothers has 24 candies. How many chocolates did they have in the beginning? At first, Sam had 39 candies, Bob had 21, and Alex had 12. You can solve the riddle this way. Have a look. Bob leaves home and turns right 3 times. He wants to return home, but he's scared of Sam, who's wearing a mask. What's going on here? The guys are playing baseball. Sam wants to cross the Sahara Desert. This risky journey will take 6 days. But unfortunately, one man can only carry enough food and water for 4 days. Can you calculate the smallest number of other people that will need to help Sam carry enough food across the desert? Two people. Let's suppose that Sam's brothers, Alex and Bob, agree to help him out. Never mind that Bob always lies. By the end of the first day, they'll have enough food for 9 days, 4 plus 4 plus 1. Now Alex can head back home with a 1-day food package. Meanwhile, Sam and Bob can continue their journey with an 8-day package. By the end of the second day, the total food supply will reduce to 6 food packages. Now Bob can grab enough food for 2 days and go home. At this point, Sam will still have a 4-day food package to fulfill his dream. Sam met a genie in the middle of the desert. The genie said, "Hi, I'm Leo. If you solve my riddle, I'm going to fulfill your wishes. But if you fail, you'll serve me till the end of infinity. Deal?" Well, Sam agreed. Here's the riddle. It's not alive, but it grows. It doesn't have lungs, but it needs air. It can't be washed, but it's never dirty. What is it? Can you figure it out? The correct answer is fire. First of all, Sam asked the genie for some cash. 9 rare and priceless gold coins appeared in front of the guy. Leo gave Sam balance scales and said, "These coins look absolutely identical, but one of them is fake. The fake coin is lighter than the rest. What's the smallest number of weightings you'll need to find the fake coin?" The correct answer is 2. First, Sam should divide the coins into 3 equal piles. Then he should place a pile on each side of the scales, leaving the remaining pile of 3 coins on the ground. If the scales remain balanced, it means that the 6 coins on the scale are real and the fake coin is in the third pile. But if the scales do tip, Sam will easily find out which pile contains the fake coin. Spoiler, the pile which is lighter. Either way, he should put 6 gold coins aside and leave only the lightest pile. Then he can use the same method to find the third coin, by putting 1 coin on each side of the scales and leaving the third one in his hand. Sam was hungry, so he had one more wish: to have dinner. Leo began frying some fish in a pan that could only fit 2 fish at once. It takes 5 minutes to fry one side of a fish. What's the shortest time Leo needs to fry 3 fish in one pan? "15 minutes. Leo should put 2 fish in the pan and fry them for 5 minutes. Then he should take 1 fish out and then turn the other one over. After that, Leo should start frying the third fish. He should fry both fish for 5 minutes. The first fish will be ready, so he should put it away on a plate while turning the other over. Now, he should put the half-fried fish back in the pan and fry 2 fish for 5 more minutes. Voila! All 3 fish are now ready." Sam left the desert and decided to stay in this little village to get some rest. He wanted to get a haircut and a shave after his long journey. There were only 2 barber shops in this village. In the first shop, the barber was handsome with a neat haircut. He was well dressed, and the place looked tidy and clean. Meanwhile, the barber from the second shop was shabbily dressed. His hair was cut in a weird way, and his clothes had stains from last night's dinner. His place didn't look clean at all. Which barber shop should Sam go to, and why? Since there are only 2 barbers in the village, it's obvious that the tidy barber must have his hair done by the other, and the second barber must have used the services of the first man. Therefore, Sam should choose the barber from the second shop because he's more professional. 2 business partners, Rick and Frank, met in a restaurant. It was a hot summer day, so they ordered cold mint tea with ice. Rick gulped down 5 glasses of this drink during lunch. Meanwhile, Frank managed to drink only 1 glass. Soon after that, Frank fainted and fell to the floor. Doctors diagnosed severe poisoning, but Rick was feeling completely fine. The police found out that both glasses contained poison. How did Rick, who had drunk 5 glasses of this tea, avoid any consequences? Rick survived because the poison was in the ice cubes. He drank quickly, and the ice had no time to melt in his drink. As for Frank, he drank his tea slowly, and the ice melted in his drink to poison it heavily. You pronounce me as 1, but write me as 3. You can't read this riddle without me. What am I? The correct answer is I. Bob bought a parrot from a pet shop and put it in a beautiful silver cage. The seller warned Bob that this parrot could give birth every 2 months, and it can deliver up to 5 babies at a time. How many parrots will Bob have in a year? Just 1, because he only bought 1 bird, not 2. I'm always trapped in my glass cage. I'm usually found at the bottom of the cage. If I climb higher, I get hotter. If I climb down, I get cooler. What am I? The correct answer is a thermometer. A father is locked up in jail. His wife has gone bankrupt. Their son has to sell his hotel in order to gain some money. Yet their daughter doesn't care and is happy. How can someone be so heartless? The family is playing Monopoly, and the daughter is winning the game. We've arranged 10 coins on a table this way. Altogether, they form a triangle pointing upward. Can you invert the position of the triangle and make it point downward while moving only 3 coins? Here's the easiest way to do it. Just move these coins as shown. I'm always ahead of you, yet you can never see me. What am I? Tomorrow. Can you spot your name in this alphabet soup? Oh, there it is. Rosie and Melanie are having an argument. Rosie yells, "I'm part of this club, let me in!" And Melanie replies, "Leave right now, you're not a member of our club." Can you figure out who's lying by just looking at this picture? Both ladies have club tattoos, but Melanie's tattoo is slightly different from the club's logo. Therefore, her membership must be fake.
Chris and William are getting ready for the day. Which of them doesn't live alone? William is brushing his teeth, but there is one more toothbrush in the bathroom. It's likely to belong to someone else, so I'd say William doesn't live alone. Now, take a look at these pictures of Philip and Kai. One of them lives with his girlfriend. Can you tell who it is? There's a pair of high heels and a dress in Philip's wardrobe. He probably has a girlfriend. Look at Luna and Evadine's rooms. One of the girls has a sister who she shares the room with. Can you tell who has a sister? There's a bunk bed in Luna's room. I bet she has a sibling. Okay, one of these guys has a cat. Can you tell who it is? It's the guy on the right. Look, the wallpaper at the bottom of the wall is scratched. Now, I'll be showing you some pictures one by one. Your task is to find what's wrong with them. Ready? Here's the first one. The sun is shining, but the camels don't cast shadows. Here's the next one. What's really off here? Look at the flag at the top of the building and at the tree nearby. It seems that the wind is blowing in different directions. This is impossible. This one is pretty simple. What will you say? The reflection in the mirror is wrong. Pay attention to the smallest details. What's wrong here? The school bus doesn't have a door. Something's off with this image. What is it? Look at the clock. In the winter, no sunset can happen at this hour. Esme was walking in the forest. She got lost, but found the witch's house. She walked in to ask for her help. The witch and the cat had a guest. The witch's grandson came to visit. The grandson had heard of Esme and of her ability to solve riddles. So, he had a riddle for her too. He took a t-shirt and cut 2 holes in it. The question was, how many holes does the t-shirt have now? Eight. With 2 holes cut through, there are 2 on each side, 4 in total. Plus, there are 2 holes for the arms, 1 for the head, and 1 at the bottom. Every weekday, Kennedy eats an apple on her way to work. Once, she noticed a woman selling flowers. The woman gave a man a bouquet and said, "Tuna sandwich." The next day, it was yogurt, directed at another person. On the 3rd day, it was eggs. Kennedy got curious and walked up to the woman to get some flowers. The woman said apple. What was her weird ability? The woman always knew the last thing her client ate. Simon had a crush on a new girl in his class. Finally, he asked her out on a date. To impress her, he told the girl he had undergone a special secret training program. And then he visited the moon. He even had a picture. The girl took a look at it but didn't believe Simon. Why? In the picture, Simon is standing on the moon. Still, there's another moon in the background, which is impossible. He might have cool Photoshop skills, but he definitely hadn't thought it through. One rich and well-known elderly woman, Mrs. Stevenson, had been living alone for years. She had one interesting quirk. Every time someone rang the doorbell, she wouldn't open the door without putting on her coat and hat first. Can you guess why? She didn't know who the visitor was until she opened the door. If she liked that person, she'd tell them she'd just returned home and invite them to come in. If it was someone she didn't want to spend time with, she said she was leaving. Mrs. Jordan loved music, so she sent her daughter, Gianna, to music school. The woman made the girl play every day. Once, Mrs. Jordan had to go on a business trip for 2 weeks. She asked Gianna to practice every day, and the girl agreed. When Mrs. Jordan came back 2 weeks later, she realized Gianna hadn't been practicing. How did she understand it? The piano is dusty, which means it's been a while since Gianna last opened it. A group of aliens from another galaxy discovered planet Earth and decided to study people. 4 of them turned into humans and went to our planet to explore. But the aliens didn't really succeed in pretending to be humans. Take a look at these photos and try to find an alien. Here's the first image. Can you spot anything strange? This guy's skin is blue. He must be the alien. This one's harder. Do you see a fake human here? It's winter and it's cold, but this guy is only wearing shorts. That's some non-human ability to tolerate cold temperatures. What about this one? Take a closer look at what this guy is eating. It doesn't look like human food at all. Okay, what do you say here? Did you notice this one has 6 fingers? I bet it's him. Mrs. Lawrence has 3 daughters who she doesn't allow to go outside after 8 p.m. The woman was at work when a neighbor called her and said she'd seen one of her daughters in the mall. Mrs. Lawrence immediately called each of her girls. Mia said she'd been playing badminton outside. Nicole said she had an online study session with her friends. Quinn said she'd been playing computer games. Who lied? Mia. She couldn't play badminton alone, and since her sisters were all busy, they couldn't play with her. I have a friend, Anna. Her mom is the most unusual person I know. She has green hair, wears skirts with trousers, and has a pet raccoon. She also has 3 daughters. Her oldest daughter's name is Wednesday. Her middle daughter's name is Thursday. Can you guess what her youngest daughter's name is? Well, it's Anna's mom, so her 3rd daughter's name is Anna. On the first day of college, Ruby went missing. A detective had 3 suspects: Mrs. Collins, the director, Mr. Wright, the cleaning man, and Cassidy, Ruby's best friend. Mrs. Collins said that she had to do her midterm report and hadn't left her office. Mr. Wright said he hadn't even seen the girl. Cassidy said they'd spent the whole day together at college. But then Ruby went home. Who is lying? It must be the director, Mrs. Collins. It was the first day of college. There couldn't possibly be any midterm reports yet. Della and Aurora always tell the truth, but on their birthdays, they always lie. Today is September 3rd, and their friend Mark asks them when their birthdays are. Della says it was yesterday. Aurora says it's tomorrow. The next day, the guy asks the same question, but their answers don't change. When are the girls' birthdays? Each of them lied on one of the days, so these 2 days must be their birthdays. Della said it was yesterday both times, so her birthday must be on September 3rd. Then, the next day, she told the truth. September 4th is Aurora's birthday. She told the truth on the first day and then lied on her birthday. Hazley and Skylar are jaywalking. Hazley is listening to music and Skylar is texting. Who is in danger? It's Skylar. She's jaywalking right where the road takes a turn. There's a car approaching her, and the driver might not have enough time to react. Serafina and Flora wanted to go to a party, but their parents had grounded them. Serafina decided to leave through the back door, and Flora wanted to sneak out through her bedroom window. Who will not make it to the party? Probably Flora. Her father is sitting next to her window reading a book. He'll probably see her leaving. Brooke and Sydney were going to learn how to swim. Brooke went to the lake near her house, and Sydney went to the ocean with her friends. Who is in greater danger? Brooke. She went alone. There was no one around to save her in case something goes wrong. Brielle got a new bike as a present for her birthday. It was a surprise, so she locked it in the room and left for work. When she returned, the bike wasn't there. She realized someone in her family must have pulled a prank. Her brother said he hadn't seen anything. Her dad said he'd noticed a bike while walking past her room, but she was in a hurry to get to work. Her mom said she'd spent the day downstairs making a cake. Who pulled the prank? It must be Brielle's dad. She locked the room so he couldn't see the bike unless he walked in. In a magical world, there are 2 cities connected by a bridge. The city on the left bank of the river is guarded. No one can enter or leave it without written permission. Ellie was held captive in this city. She managed to escape and needed to get to the other side. It took 10 minutes to cross the bridge, but the guard came out of his house every 5 minutes. How can Ellie cross the bridge? Ellie should leave the city when the guard goes back to his house. 5 minutes later, she should turn around and walk back towards the guard. When she approaches the man, he'll think she's trying to come in. But since Ellie won't have any permission, he'll send her back to the city on the right bank of the river.